I'll just retweet whatever you did.
See that thing? Just click that thing, and then you retweet that thing. Waggle that shit. Yeah. I love Manolo.
Who?
The Instagram golf guy.
Alrighty then. What's up, everybody? Ben, Rasa and Eric Lindquist here for Awesemo.com, and we are ready to break down the PGA DFS slate in front of us. Wyndham Championship, the last week before the FedEx Cup playoffs. A lot to talk about. Recent withdrawals. Patrick Reed also withdrew a couple days ago, and everything in between. So I'm excited to get after it, Eric. It's been a long regular season of golf. We're here in Wyndham, which we are every year right before the FedEx Cup playoffs. How do you feel right off the bat this week?
Awful.
Yes.
Everything sucks. Mm-hmm. I won a lot of money last week, and I'm not okay. I'm not okay. So
You're in the bitter barn?
I'm in the bitter barn. So when an 80-1 outright pays for your year. It just does. It pays for it and then some.
Not my year, but most people's. Yeah,
most people. Me in my reasonable means of what I do. It was looking like a backdoor outright. It looked like Sam Burns, who was my poster child for everything I did, highest owned golfer in DFS. He was the talking point of everything I talked about, where played really, really well in Bermuda, had a first, second earlier in the season and lost a little bit of that form, but back on Bermuda and just balled out again. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. Iron play on point. Lip out. That lip out was maybe the most painful thing ever. And you're sending me pictures of Wizards thinking that I should be buying them. So you premied it a little bit. So I kind of blame you, but also I just blame me for getting a little too high. I thought it was going to happen.
It's a tough beat. It really is. There's really nothing. Everyone, I'm sure, chat. We got a laundry list of them here each and every week. It's brutal, but you know what? On the positive note, you have been, it's not just last week, you have been on the money for a while now. You're seeing things clearly, and that's what we're going to try to do tonight once again to take some momentum into the FedEx Cup. We start, as we always do, with weather and withdrawals. I don't see anything with the weather, and I was going to say pretty quiet on the withdrawal front. Patrick Reed decided to finally take a break, a much needed one, but
take a nap, bro.
Louis Oosthuizen did us all a favor and didn't go full Louis. He just went normal person Louis. He has withdrawn, so get him out of your lineups. He gave us some notice. That's a nice benefit because I 100% was going to play a good amount of Louis this week.
Yeah, thank you to him. I didn't really know what to do with him this week either. I mean, there was going to be crazy ownership. What was that?
Makes it easier now.
Yeah, it makes my life a lot easier because now I don't have to think about that. And I always was going to jam Louis. Let's be serious. That was a guy that I was going to be betting outright. We don't even have to contemplate these kind of things now. And I think it opens it up a lot at the top. I mean, Louis was a fantastic putter. We're going to play a lot of fantastic putters. I'm also going to throw in some terrible putters because why not? But it's going to be a much better tournament, I think, without him.
It will cause Webb, as Chad just pointed out, to be just 100% owned, and that'll probably kill me.
101 maybe,
it's
because
just I don't know. We're gonna get to that. We are, but
no Harris English at least.
No, there's some positives to look to this week. I know it's a little different, and again, it's not the best tournament in the world, in the scope of the PGA Tour season, but it is different with the PGA Tour cards on the line. Guys need big weeks. We're gonna talk about that certainly and more. I do want to say, our friends at Monkey Knife Fight sponsoring the show, and they've done that all year, and we really are thankful for it. And they don't just do golf. You guys know this, but UFC, NBA, which is in the offseason, esports, soccer, and of course, the NFL, which is coming in just a couple weeks. They have that all available there. We are doing special shows for them. I know, Eric, you and Josh did one today, I want to say.
Yeah, we did. Well, we did a Monkey Knife Fight. We've been talking a little NFL, but been doing a lot of stuff with Lofty, with you. We've had a lot of chats. Go Chargers.
Go Chargers. Go Chargers, go. Also, head over to monkeyknifefight.com. You choose your buy-in, your levels, everything that you're doing on a normal DFS site. And even better, when you sign up with the promo code Awesemo, you will get an instant first match deposit bonus of up to $100. So go and do that today. Get in there before football season. No reason not to. But the thing I want to talk about, I'm calling it the final countdown. And I want to ask you this. Every year when we get to Wyndham, it's always, this guy is 126th in the FedEx Cup and he needs a big week or his life is over. Do you look at that? Do you care about that? Or do you say they've had a whole year and they are where they are because this is kind of who they are at this point?
Are they going to try less? Like I think there might be a buzzsaw. Like I think it probably hurts a little bit more to have that kind of pressure on you, just as far as win equity. Like you're probably, unless it's somebody just gearing for the top, like what's Will Z or what are these guys like? They have their tour card. Most of the guys that we're looking at who would be your top tier dudes looking at winning this golf tournament, your 9K plus dudes, they're not thinking about it so much. I don't really know. I don't think it makes you try harder by any means. Maybe it's a little voice in the back of your head putting extra pressure on you, and maybe we need to like slightly downgrade somebody, but I'm not. Are you?
No, I don't care, honestly.
Way to set me up to fail there. No, what if I had just gone down the tangent? I'm really factoring it in, and I've strokes above placement that they need to get, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think it's a situation that you can look and chat. Yes, I'm aware. I was joking. Don't play Louis. I think you can look, and there are going to be some guys who are say 130 in the FedEx Cup standings, and they have a big week. I don't think the reason they have a big week is because they were 130th. It would be nice. It would help them. But for every guy there's going to be a guy who's 121st in the FedEx Cup, and they miss the cut and they lose status or whatever. I think you've had a whole year, guys like Ricky, and there's a million of them, Fleetwood, Scott. It's not to say I'm avoiding them. It's not to say I'm playing them. I don't really treat much. It's hard to quantify that. When you can't quantify it, kind of have to let it pass. But, we're at a course here. A lot of birdies, man, a lot of streaks, a lot of bonuses. What do you feel about that? We've seen some of these with JDC and a couple others. Any feel on kind of what you expect from Sedgefield?
I expect low numbers, other than number 18, which is a beast. And for me, you just like see certain shots off that tee box. Like I just remember who was the guy who hit the Stinger 2-iron that they show 50 million times, the Georgia Tech kid. Who am I thinking of?
Augustine?
No, Snyder Chance. Ollie Snyder Chance is who I was thinking of. Has like this Stinger 2-iron hitting it off of 18 there. That hole's ridiculous and a pretty tough one coming down the stretch. But otherwise, you basically have 17 holes that are not very difficult, that are pretty birdieable. 14 can be difficult on the back nine as well. As far as showdown goes, nothing where there's like a real easy wraparound kind of play coming from the 10 tee. I mean, I think you start off on 10. It's a much more difficult place to start on. That back nine is much more difficult in those early holes, 10 through 12. But what I'm looking at as far as this golf course goes is we see a ton of birdies. I mean, you have so many gettable holes out here. You have so many easy kind of par fours. I mean, it's just a ton of par fours, and they're all very birdieable. And you're looking at, 8, 13, 9. They're all pretty darn simple. So I expect a lot of birdies coming down to a lot of iron play and putters. No surprise.
Yeah, it's a wedge fest. It's short. It's Bermuda. You got to score. If you're trying to win a large field GPP, you're going to need a lot of guys getting 4 rounds under 70, streaks, bonuses, all the things that you see at a birdie fest are going to be here. I don't think off the tee, listen, there's nothing wrong with dominating off the tee. And I definitely am targeting some guys that do a lot with the driver, but you're not going to dismantle this course. You're not going to overpower it. You just have to, it becomes a wedge fest, and you're going to be flag hunting, and you got to convert, because if you don't, you're going to fall behind. So that's all I really have here. It's not going to be like last week where I want to caution people. And we're going to get into some of these stats. If you're looking at strokes gain data from last week, keep in mind there is a ton of water and it skews the numbers. Si Woo, for example, lost the old standard 16 strokes on the approach. Like he hit like 8 water balls on one hole. So you can't treat that the same as a normal week.
See, whoops.
Yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Well, I responded to you. I saw it on the old Twitter machine, and whoops. I mean, that's something we've all done it. Every golfer who plays golf long enough does something really, really dumb on something, and you'll have it ingrained in your life forever. That's going to be his scar tissue. So have fun with that, Sibu.
He doesn't care. He has the Men in Black thing. He birdied the next hole. He finished strong. He's going to be just fine. Right. Anyway, chat just said, friend of the show, Alan, fading the 10K range is the plus EV move this week. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about the top tier. I think that's I don't think it's a bold take at all, especially with 2 down already. We've got Decky at 11, Webb, who's going to be very, very popular, Will Zalatoris, who looked healthy and played very well, and then Kokrak to me, who feels overpriced. What are you going to do with Webb? Because I think that's where we have to start.
Who said Will Z last week out of the rain clouds. I believe that was me. So that felt good.
It's only two of us on the show, and I would never say that. So I think that that rules out process of elimination is what we do best here.
Oh, man. Yeah. One is less than two. And one of us had that take. So that was good. I like the top still. I mean, Webb Simpson is going to be a tough one for me to get to anywhere close to what that field's going to be at. It's going to get to another level now. We're looking at taking Louis off the board, and you're turning 30% Webb or 25% Webb into 35 or 40% Webb. And I think just being half the field is probably like the easy, de facto kind of way that I think about dealing with Webb this week. I don't want to be at the field on something like that unless you really feel like there's no way that he can't top five. But looking at the books, they're still giving plus money out for such things. So considering it's less than a 50-50 for him to do such things, I think it would be foolish to have like 50% exposure to him in these lineups. Do you feel any differently about him specifically?
I mean, it's tough. I think that certainly if you're building cash lineups and you want Webb in there, that makes a lot of sense. Certainly if you're building a portfolio and you want to slice off minimal leverage and you want to cancel, I get it. It's just really hard for me to allocate to target someone at those ownership levels. Like in single entry, I think he could push upwards of 50%. And that's too much. I think long-term, even though it can be frustrating, even though this year it feels like this move has not worked, long-term, I firmly believe more often than not at those type of ownerships, you're better off pivoting or saving the salary.
Yeah. And everybody's going to say, oh, but he's got a daughter named Wyndham. I do not care. I don't care. It's the dumbest narrative that people actually have been saying that, and that they're actually betting him outright at super short odds. I mean, we need to have a conversation with those people.
The outright, I think, is probably worse than the DFS play.
I agree.
I don't see, and that would make even less sense to me. But
it's happening. I've seen it written up places. It's absurd.
Not by me. I only bet guys that have minimal chance to win, but if they ever did, good things would happen.
Go Ricky.
Yeah, go Henley, and we're going to get there. But let's take Webb out of the equation. You've got three other guys here. You've got Decky, who's on fire with the irons, but he can't really putt. You've got Will Z, who's just a very good player. And then you have Kokrak, who he won and then he's been a little shaky. Do you have any interest in those guys, or is it Webb or pass, or is it just pass?
It's over on Decky. It's over on Decky now. I think with Louis off the board specifically, maybe it gets to like 25-30% and I need to reconsider, but I keep refreshing it here, trying to see if this is going to be updated. I'm assuming he still comes in under 20%. I do see Will Z, and I see specifically Webb. Webb's going to soak up a lot of that ownership. I think that's probably the appropriate way that it works. I think Will Z over, Hideki over. I just think that the ability to go to this 7K range and kind of scatter shot seems a lot more fun to me. I think Hideki and Will Z should not be under 20% owned. And so long as they are, I think being over on them seems like an okay way to build this week. And just if it's going to be more centralized now with Webb down to like this 8K range, which is getting a lot of attention, whether it's Seamus Power, and I'm terrified this week, by the way, Kevin Kistner, yo boy, if we're going to talk about that as well, Kevin Streelman, who I like. This entire mid 8K range is soaking up a lot of ownership as well. And then the mid 9s, it's going to be so easy to click Webb, click Henley, click Seamus, and kind of build out the rest of your lineup more so than a regular week. So I think going to either Hideki or Will Z just to kind of mix it up, even putting the two of them together and then really stars and scrubsing it could be a fun way to go single entry.
Yeah, I am interested to see how many double up Webb and one of the others, or even, as you just said, rolling two of three, because they're all going to garner ownership. There's no doubt about it. If you do that, though, you have to basically omit the 9K range. And I kind of want to go, we're going to extend, make the cut because this is just a weird tournament. You know what? These guys belong in that section, and that's what we're going to do here. Let's start rattling them off. I mean, if you go balanced, Brian Harman was bad last week, but long-term, he's one of the more consistent players. He's a good putter. This is a good course for him. Do you mind buying back at 99, or would you rather, Fleetwood is there, who's been awful. Sanjay Wolf, weird range. Talk about the upper 9s.
I'm fighting back and forth with Brian Harman. I think that he's gaining a lot more traction, and I think the ownership comes in, a lot higher. I would be shocked. And maybe I'm wrong. Just looking at our ownership, I feel like I've been seeing Brian Harman written up and talked about a lot more than Jason Kokrak. I think you could flip those ownerships just the same. They both kind of seem meh to me. Both guys that at their ownership right now, 14, 15% plus, I can kind of do without. I'm siding and I hate myself and I do not like it, but I'm getting over the field on Tommy Fleetwood this week just for you because you're the devil. And I've been off of Fleetwood. I've been disagreeing with you constantly about that. That I just don't think he's been a good play the last couple of weeks. I think now at this number, 9,700 is an overpay for a dude who's not in very good form. But considering the rest of this range, you're talking to me about Harman, Kokrak surrounding him here. I don't find to be that big of a difference. Like Brian Harman would probably be my favorite, but at his ownership being double that of Fleetwood, I'm happy to actually be over the field on Fleetwood for probably the first time, I don't know, in years.
Interesting. That is very, very interesting because I'm not really there, but I've been getting burned by him, and you've certainly timed it potentially nicely because you have not taken the lumps the last couple of weeks with him, and his ownership is going to be very, very low. I think for me, my favorite guy is definitely Russell Henley. It's going to be much more popular than a guy like Fleetwood. I love this spot for him. I'm going to take out the Open because I don't really care about that. Before that, 11th, 19th, 13th. He gained 3 or more strokes on the approach in all 3, 6 or more strokes on the approach in 2 of 3. He's a good Bermuda putter. He doesn't overpower golf courses. He's won multiple times on tour, 35-1 in the outright market, 9,400. Like him in all formats this week.
9,400. Yeah. What am I going to do? He's my favorite bet of the week. And I felt like Jeff wanted to write him up and you stole it. And I wanted to write him up and you stole it. And I mean, Russell Henley, I played some golf with in La Quinta once upon a time, coming off of his Corn Ferry days. Georgia Bulldog, good people, like just a fantastic dude. He was getting ready for all of the stuff that, because they have to play multiple courses out there, and he was just getting out on tour. And so the Amex, as it's known now, I don't know what it was back in the day, 10 years ago when we played out there, but got to play La Quinta Country Club with him. Good dude.
He was rare person who's done this. His first start ever on the PGA Tour, he won. And Russell Henley is a winner. He can win. He can win this tournament. He can win anytime he goes out there because he can get crazy hot with the putter and electric with the irons.
Yes.
The other guy I want to ask you about is Sungjae, who coming off the Olympics, it was a tough spot for him. I actually didn't think he played that bad. He lost 4.5 strokes putting at St. Jude. The irons weren't great, but he still gained in 5 straight events on the approach. No one's really thinking about him relative to some of the other spots. I am a little surprised to see him still garnering some ownership. He's not going to be chalk by any stretch, but he's not going to be unpopular. What do you do with Sungjae, or do you say, you know what, I don't have room for him?
I'm lighter right now. I'm probably going to get even lighter as we go. Again, I'm very curious to see how ownership starts spreading out. You take Louis off the page for me, and that was just going to absorb so much of my week because it's felt like just he's a not fail play. Like he has not burned you for the entire season. Like there hasn't been a tournament. There hasn't been a flop for him. 41st at the Players is as bad as it's gotten. That is 10 consecutive top 20s. It was such a free square in this golf tournament on a iron and putting deluxe. It was just going to be almost a near lock. We were going to have that conversation and take him off the board. You're going to see a guy like Sungjae start to see that ownership trend up. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up being one of the higher owned dudes, especially in this 9K range. I mean, it's going to be him and Henley, and I would much rather be going to Henley.
So would I. I like Sungjae more than you do, but definitely focusing on Henley.
I think Henley missed cut is not Henley. Sungjae Im missed cut is an interesting bet.
Do you have a line by any chance?
I will find it here as you're talking. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the other guys I want to talk about in this range, because when we think about this course, we've said it multiple times: irons, putting, short irons, wedges, blah blah blah. Matthew Wolff, 9,300. Bubba Watson, flat 9K, and no interest by the public whatsoever. I like Bubba. I don't like Wolff. Where do you fall with these two?
Yeah, so I think Wolff gains traction because people like playing Wolff. He's like the poor man's Xander Schauffele a little bit in the DFS circles. At least that's the impression that I get, is that people just like to click on his name. And I get that he has upside any given week. It's been a while since we saw any given week here outside of the US Open where he popped really out of the middle of nowhere for me. 15th there, 17th here at the WGC was fine, but that wasn't going to win you anything. Had kind of a bad Saturday there at 72 at a par 70. Not going to get it done, but I don't know. Matthew Wolff, not the most intriguing dude for me ever. I have 2% in my first build. I'm probably not going to change off of that out of my 150. It's kind of whatever. Bubba Watson's interesting because if you talk about the Travelers, he's played well there in the past. And there's kind of a short course narrative where he just kind of shot makes and does certain things on certain golf courses you wouldn't expect him to be very good on. I didn't even look. What's his course history here? Because he's not somebody that I think.
Basically.
It's what?
It's like non-existent.
Oh, okay. So then that makes him actually much more intriguing for me, knowing that there's not going to be ownership on him. He pops on random golf courses that are just kind of like his golf courses. I mean, Riviera is not random. I think that that's just a good test of golf and one of my favorite golf courses on tour, and Bubba just plays well there. But the Travelers, I wouldn't put in like the bucket of being Bubba golf, and he's shown promise there, kind of a shorter course, irons, putter, and maybe this is kind of the same mold for him. So under 10%, sure. Why not?
I have no problem with it. Like I said, he's making cuts quietly. Bubba is someone we know he's going to gain off the tee. He's not a good putter, but when he likes greens and when he gets it going, he's an amazing putter. He gets crazy hot, built for birdie fests. I don't know exactly what to expect from him, but when you only have to allocate 10%, 15%, that's a pretty easy buy for me at 9K.
Okay, then let's party with that. Let's party with that. To miss cut, do you want to guess what the line would be for Sung JM?
Miscut in this plus 175.
Yeah, plus 145. So I can roll with that. Yeah, I can roll with that. I think I'm gonna tap a little bit of that.
Anybody else? Do you want to talk about Adam Scott or Siwoo Kim? Those are the only other guys there. I don't have much to say. I think they're fine plays. I'm very neutral on them.
You think they're fine plays?
Yeah, they're fine.
We could talk about that because
Which one do you want me to tackle first?
I would much rather not play DFS this week than roster Adam Scott.
Yeah, that's a fair statement, but
I would rather. I'm going to Vegas when we get off this show, and I would much rather just take all my money and put it on red than touch Adam Scott in DFS.
Well, so would I, but I don't have that luck. Put it on green.
What are you doing this weekend? Hop on out. Let's go.
Adam Scott, bizarro Adam Scott, super putter all of a sudden. Just gain strokes putting basically all year, kind of like Louis, but his bread and butter of really crisp ball striking has gone away a little bit. He has been making cuts though. He's only missed one cut, and that was at the PGA. So I don't mind it in a win equity that's so dispersed. Again, is he a priority? No. Do I like him more than you? Definitely. Let's move to the eights though, because there's more names here. We've got Bobby Mack, who's looking for a huge week to get status. Gary Woodland at 87 is a name that stuck out to me. You've got Ricky Seamus, who's still off a win. Kisner, Streelman, Munoz, Charles, and Justin Rose. What say you about this 8K range?
Why are we not playing Seamus Power this week?
I don't really like him, to be honest.
What?
Yeah, I'm not really on it.
Okay, so tell me why you're not on it.
So one, he's going to be very, very popular, which isn't ideal. And again, it's one of those guys, and I do like this. Let me preface it by saying, if this tournament was the 22nd of July right off his win, that would be even worse. But this still is a guy who had a breakthrough win. Everything is secured for him. And now he's taken a pretty long break. He was rolling. He wins. Haven't seen him since. Price is reasonable, but it doesn't stand out. I don't know if he just completely keeps it going. He's on quite a run, and it culminated at the Barbasol.
6 straight top 20s. Approach game, by far the best part of his golf game, around the green as well, just kind of suburb at both. Spikes putting weeks here from time to time. Rocket Mortgage 5.7, his win at the Barbasol 3.3. The Barbasol, a weaker field, but still give me an 8th or a 9th from him, which we've seen, 3 times in his last 6 events. You're partying at that number, and I'm happy to rock with him again. If it were something where he was coming in 25%, 30%, I'd be kicking myself, probably not enjoy the rostering this, but he's sub 20%. And sometimes I will take the opposite approach of you in this regard. If we're going to talk narrative where he's cushy and he's coming off of a win and he's taken some time off, he's kind of earned the opportunity to have some time off. He seems like a dude, though, who's pretty focused. He's been grinding out there for a while. I don't think it's going to change anything to him and his approach for it. Maybe he comes out and he's not as sharp, and I'll feel really, really dumb about this, but he's not 25, 30%. This is not a Harris English play like we saw last week. I'm happy to be rolling back out with him because his golf game is like tailor-made towards this. Doesn't have to go crazy off the tee in a lot of these spots, just focusing on the approach, focusing on making some putts and being fantastic around the green like he is, I don't know, every single week. Gained strokes in every single tournament since Sony around the green. I just feel like because of the immaculate short game and the iron combination, it's impossible for me not to like him this week.
I mean, yeah, if he keeps the form going, he'll be 10K soon enough because he's been unbelievable. There's no doubt about it. I like Woodland. He was someone, he went to Barracuda, which, okay, secures, does what he have to do there, get some breathing room. Obviously, he went there so we didn't have to worry as much and to get into the playoffs. Looks good. Driver will be forced out of his hands. He's just a better player than a lot of these guys long-term. So I went to that build a lot where I call it kind of a macro build where I just took some golfers that are just long-term better players, and Woodland's at the top of that list in a lot of regards.
I have some 3-max stuff where I have like 1,500 left on the table, and I don't think it's that nuts this week. And I haven't really reacted to this Louis news. I mean, before it was fade the 10K and try to do some different things. Now I'm kind of wanting to dabble in the 10K a little bit more than I did pre-Louis. And I know that other people might go there as well. His ownership will naturally spike a little bit on some of those spots, but I just think the win equity goes up so much for those guys in the top end, or them getting a top 5 goes up drastically. You just take Louis out of the field. That's one less guy to beat.
Talk to me about the lower ranges here. I'm not really on Kisner. I think Streelman makes sense. He can get a lot of wedges in his hand. The guy that I like, though, is Charles. Am I crazy, or does that make so much sense that I'm a mega mind genius?
I got like fourth in the $33 on DK with Kevin Kisner in my lineup last week, and I 100% blame you. Like 100%. Yeah, that sounds like
something that's my fault.
I just wanted to just throw you under the bus here quick.
It was a weird,
it made sense. It made sense. You talked me into it a little bit on the show, and he just blew up.
He scored all right for a while there, and then he did many, many, many bad things.
Yeah, he quit golfing. He started fishing in his mind or something. It was not good. It was, you win some, you lose some, and that was an L for me.
L for society.
L for society. Oh man, V for Vendetta. Let's get back after it. Yeah, I'm not going to play him. I would be shocked also if his ownership came in where we had it at now. I don't think people are going to click on that box score. Box score watchers outside of the mortgage and Rocket Mortgage travelers. Again, this would be a golf course that I think last year would set up really nicely for him, and I would want to be clicking on it. But we saw the RBC Heritage. I mean, we had a miscut out of there, with that huge miscut streak he had from the Players to the PGA. A lot of weird stuff out of him lately. I just don't think I want to play with fire there. Is there a top 10 potential there? Maybe he's a good bet to have just as like an exposure to that, but I don't think you're getting that good of a number in the markets on him either. So he's kind of just a pass for me all the way around this week too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this range is pretty wide open, but I'm going to reason with Charles here. He's fixed his driver. He's been really, really solid with the putter. Everything really checks out. Runner up at 3M, just playing good golf. Price is reasonable. What's not to like? Honestly, I'm just going to kind of play him. You got to play someone, and I'm not going to go to Rose. Certainly not going to EVR. Munoz, you could convince me, but at the same time, I would prefer Charles.
We're getting into I think Charles does make a lot more sense, and Charles Schwartzel, out of anybody that you would expect to play well, he's one of the more surprising dudes, I think, on the entire season for me, because I thought he was done. I thought he was toast. And this happens a lot in golf where there's a resurgence. You cheer for this kind of stuff. So I think Charles Schwartzel, I mean, I don't like that he's nearly 15% owned, but I think it's probably deserved.
Oh, I think it's deserved too.
It's just weird to say that, because I mean, it's an 8,100 Charles Schwartzel, a dude that you were playing at 6,500 at the beginning of this year. And there's just so many spiked weeks. I mean, a third at the Byron Nelson, second at the 3M. There's a lot of form there, tee to green. And you get that spiked putter week like you got at the 3M, as opposed to the miscut minus 4.4 strokes at the PGA. I mean, you could say that for just about everybody in the field, though, who's hot and cold with the putter. I mean, you get a Bubba going the wrong direction, you're in a lot of trouble. You get him going in the right direction, that's a top 5. So he kind of falls in that category. And it's not like, again, he's not 25% owned. It is pretty scattershot down here. So I like it.
Yeah, I can leverage elsewhere because I'm probably not going to use Webb a ton.
Okay.
So I'll have
Same.
leverage. But let's
That's
dig
going to be
into
fun.
Yeah, well, you know what? You got to go for it in these tournaments. I think it's certainly worth the risk. You gotta be willing to roll the dice here. All right, let's go into the 7K range. Before I do, though, a couple of announcements. Chat, as usual, we got a lot of people in here hanging out with us on this lovely Wednesday night. I'm going to ask for that. Like, I don't even have to. I see the little thumbs guy going right up. We appreciate that. Subscribe to those channels. And if you aren't aware, we have some new channels. The Fantasy Football channel is live. Ton of work being done there, getting you ready for season long. And Awesemo Odds sports betting channel is live and ready to go. A lot of betting content from the NFL, from college football, PGA contenders video, and the breakfast menu every morning with me and Josh Engelman. Eric was on last week, just doing some damage. Really good picks there. We've been having a lot of fun too. So make sure to check out all that stuff in addition to, of course, what we've got going here on the main page. But I want to ask you specifically about Mito, who he's starting to climb in ownership. He's north of 20%. We have projected now. Do you like it? He's been fantastic, but at some point, do you think that it's going to kind of catch up with him?
I capped him. I put him underneath 20%. So, I mean, I have him at 15% of lineups right now. I don't really know what to do because he feels like the Harris English guy where we were projecting him around 15, 20% last week. And then it's just, well, obviously it's a misprice for the amount of form that we've had out of him. And it's a limited sample, but a fifth at the Barbasol, sixth at the 3M, and fourth, he ended up in that zillion way playoff at the Olympics. It sets up really nicely for him. Didn't play very well at the Barracuda last week, but you can kind of take that or leave that. I mean, EVR spiked out of the middle of nowhere, and I have no interest in playing him either. And, I would say out of anything, Gary Woodland was the one guy that I just got a lot of positive vibes, seeing him just kind of be comfortable back to playing some Gary Woodland golf in Tahoe. And I'm kind of riding that into this week. But Mito, I just think that you're seeing that ownership get to a place where I just think you kind of play the rest of the range, and the rest of the range seems to be a little underrepresented, like right around him. I mean, he kind of sticks out because he doesn't have enough data as opposed to on Cruncher. You're looking at everybody else there, but I like Brant Snedeker more. I like Jonathan Vegas more. They're both lower owned than Mito, and I would much rather kind of take my shots with more known commodities. And Mito, just because he's the new flashy toy, I could see that ownership getting to 25, 30% and a lot of 3max stuff. The things I've been focusing on, the process has been good on those kind of plays, other than Harris English last week, who still did some damage to the bankroll. It could have been an outrageous week if you just remove him or you add him to my portfolio, one of the two. And I just prefer he played bad. But I think it's the same thing I'm going to do with Mito at 7,900 this week.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're not going to get those plays right all the time. That's just not how it works. It's just when you do get them right, how much are you capitalizing? It's funny. I thought he was going to be even more popular, and I think he might.
Game to play. It keeps me accountable to keep the process going, to look back and be like, wow, I did what with Louis Oosthuizen at the PGA and almost came through. Then you see the guys who just absolutely destroy you. I don't know, 100% that I played at the John Deere on one Steve Stricker. That was quite the week, but it's fun to look back over the course of a season and see what you got right, what you got wrong. And I think the month of December, there's no golf going on. We'll have plenty of time while I'm covering NBA to go through the process and maybe some stuff to learn from it. But I just thought that that'd be a fun exercise. Started that up back in January this year.
That is pretty cool. I'm a big fan of what you're doing there. You've mentioned a couple pivots off Mito. Let's work down more. I got more guys. Patton Kizzire, HV3. Chad already mentioned him. I like him a lot as well. Runner up at Heritage. Games not had the best year, but I still think it's there. He can score. Brandon Gray, CT Pan, Ches Reavie. I know we can't play all these guys. Do you have a priority list in the mid sevens?
JT Poston. Let's go. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. He's actually popular, and that really threw me off a little bit. And now he's not popular, and so now it's throwing me off even more. But former winner JT Poston, do we want to go into talking about putting? Even though his approach game is complete garbage, and it was probably a huge outlier week. However, definitely North Carolina roots. I'll have a little bit because I'm addicted to playing bad golfers. So let's have a little JT Poston. I think my priority, and this is where we're starting to get to some weird takes. I really like Patton Kizzire this week. And I know that he's a name that I used to bring up quite a bit, went through a little bit of a lull. I got him pretty right back-to-back weeks. Where were those? Why is it not pulling up for me? I know he played well. Byron Nelson into Charles Schwab. So it was back-to-back in Texas. He really showed up there. Started to show a little bit more. I haven't been on him. I think I got burned by him at the Memorial, missed the cut there. that was kind of a bigger stand that I made there. I think I'm back on board. We're starting to see him come alive a little bit here in some spots. John Deere, I don't read a ton into. 3M is fine, but I think that there's going to be some opportunity. Seems like a guy who could kind of randomly spike. Again, you take Louis off the board. I just think that there is some opportunity for some of these guys to pop. I know it's only one player out there, but taking him away changes up my exposures quite a bit. I'm going to be scattershotting a little bit more in this range if I'm going to get up to these 11K guys. And I just think Patton Kizzire sets up well here.
I never play Patton Kizzire, very, very rarely. I like him this week, though. Off the tee, mitigated, good putter. Is it a smash play? Definitely not. I like Varner a lot, but he is definitely in the pool. I think this sets up good. He can go crazy low. Price is reasonable. And there's just a lot of pivots. So he's not going to garner ownership with Gooch and Vegas and Poston and Sneds and all these guys there. As we work down lower sevens, we've got guys like Doug Gim, Patrick Rogers, Chris Kirk, Lord Raiden, Joel Dahman, Luke List.
Raiden.
Yeah, that's right. Any of these guys find the weekend? What do we do here? It's not a range that I'm super in love with, to be honest.
I'm pulling. I'm trying my best to make it a thing, but I think Brendan Todd can be a thing this week. And I know Awesemo's projections love him. He was somebody that didn't really stick out to me kind of as I started it, but we've seen some of these spiked weeks out of him. And of course, the form is not nearly what it was last year, especially the November season last year when I think, did he ruin your life? He might have ruined your life.
I mean, I don't know if he's not at the top of the, like if I was doing the Billy Madison list of people to kill, he wouldn't be at the top, but he's not a net positive either. So,
glad I called that guy.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, the guy I'm going to probably call upon to try to do some stuff for me this entire week, out of this entire range, Chris Kirk. So let's just go to the Chris Kirk bucket. Let's try to make Chris Kirk a thing. If we can work some voodoo in there, 6th at the Valero, 7th at the RBC Heritage. I think the comp is there with the Heritage. Chris Kirk, a guy that I cheer for, fought a bunch of substance issues and has really kind of come out on the other side of that, played some really good golf coming off of some really good Korn Ferry Tour outings and then been pretty decent here in some spots. 12th at the Rock and Mortgage, didn't play well at 3M, but nobody played well at the 3M who is any good, so I don't care. Chris Kirk, let's fire him up this week at 5%.
I mean, we're starting to morph and craft the theme of this show, and it makes sense. You're getting a lot of guys that are not dominant drivers. They can get really crisp with the irons. They can make putts and they can go low. A lot of the guys that we talk about at these birdie fests, it travels. And these are short technical tracks. Chris Kirk fits all of that. I have no doubt about it. It is interesting. Brendan Todd, Ryan brought this up in chat. He took heavy money in the markets and steamed down. That doesn't mean he's going to win or even play well, but I did notice that. I have no tickets on him or exposure, but can't be a bad thing if you're grabbing some little closing line value. Any other guys down here? Like, are you gonna change it up a little? We've talked about Bubba, who doesn't fit the logical narrative. What about like Keith Mitchell, Luke List? These are aggressive drivers of the ball, but they also can really score if the putters cooperate. And
that's where it depends on what tournament you're playing in for me. Like I think it's inheriting a lot of risk in a 3 max playing some of those guys. They don't jump out in a meaningful way, but in a 150 max, getting over on some of these guys and kind of making that your stand. Like if you're playing in the $5 or even like the $1.20 max or something like that, getting 10 or 15% of some of these guys who can really flash upside, who are going to be super low owned. This is the kind of golf tournament you really want to be doing that, because their opportunity to go out and win this damn thing is so much higher than it is on a regular field event where, people are playing and trying to pull straws to play some of these dudes. I mean, Luke List is live to win this golf tournament. I mean, I'm not going to be there on him at 6%, but Brendan Todd, I surely am. I'm going to be well over the field on him there. Keith Mitchell didn't get there either. He's not somebody that I'm going in love with here in this tournament, mainly because there's some 6K plays. And I know you're about to scold me in about, 10 minutes. We could set a timer to it. Did you see my betting article at all?
No, I did not. Cause I wanted to see these reactions live on the show for the people.
You're going to just slap me. And so there's that, but there's some 6K guys that I think have some win equity. Win equity is a terrible way of putting it. Top 10 equity in the 6K range. Okay, you got some guys? Okay, I've got some guys too. Again, we haven't seen each other's stuff this week. I normally catch you when you're playing with the big boys, you're hanging out, chatting with Jason Roslin, with other guys around the industry who do a fantastic job, let it be known. But I absolutely have a problem with the 6K range this week, and I've kind of been hiding it.
It's better than Aaron Wise. I want to make a case for Wise, but I just can't. He can't putt.
Well, that's bad at a putting golf course.
It's not good. There's no doubt about it. There's limited risk. I don't mind having some bad putters in there. I just think if you have too many of them, you're capping your upside. And Kyle Stanley's another one. His ball striking is great. I think you can play him, but I'd be careful. I don't know if I'd want him with some of these other guys that are striking it great and also can't putt, because they're not all going to flip the putter at the same time.
I keep looking at this guy and tell me if I'm just absolutely nuts, because he was popping up in my model earlier this week, and I back checked it with Awesemo, and just did not seem like it was going to be a good play. But I don't know. Maybe this is like a gut check play. Scott Stallings. This feels like the kind of week that Scott Stallings would go out and just put up a third or a fifth randomly. I'm going to add him to my betting card, I think, just as I'm talking about it now, but not somebody that anything you look at here at 6,900 is going to jump out in a meaningful way. But 18th at the Barracuda last week, and it looked like he was hitting some really good. I mean, he was barely on TV for that, thankfully, but it seemed like he had some form there in that golf tournament. I kind of want to click on that name a little bit. Is he somebody you've looked at all?
Not really, to be honest.
Good talk.
His name, yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. He's not like crossed off the list. He's making cuts. Nothing really stood out. His around the green game is terrible, but that's mitigated here because you really need to score. You're not going to be trying to get up and down too often. So I don't think that's the biggest problem. Honestly, let's go into the salary savers because we're kind of doing it anyway. I was drawn more to Brian Stewart, who's just an elite putter, can get crazy hot. He's gained 2 or more strokes putting in 5 straight events. He's paired that with positive strokes on the approach in 4 of 5. He's 8th at the John Deere, 15th at the Barbasol, 6th at the 3M. I feel like he's playing pretty good golf for the same price as Stallings.
There's somebody cheaper at 6,600 that is an even better putter that's starting to come alive. Let's see if you can pinpoint the guy that I have 20% of this week.
66?
66.
Well, obviously, I mean, believe me, this makes it pretty easy because you said good putter, 6,600. Tom Lewis, no. Norlander, no. Neesmith, obviously not. Not Wyndham Clark. Vegas, you could get out of here. It obviously is going to have to be your boy, Bo Hostler, who
this is Bo Hostler week. This is Bo Hostler week. I mean, you can get him what? You can get him 16-1 right now to top 10, and the dude is literally top 10. So the Travelers. So top 20, I think is probably the right way to go. But let's just go through some of his rounds here, okay? Or some of his tournaments. 2.8 strokes gained putting at the 3M, 3.4 at the Barbasol, 1.5 at the John Deere, 0.5 at the Rocket Mortgage, 3.7 at the Travelers. I know for a fact that this dude, when he gets it rolling, is just scary. He's just scary, and he plays at a level where he was beating Xander Schauffele heads up playing in San Diego every single week. Like, they just dominated SCGA stuff, and it was Bo Hostler. And I know that this is absolutely Bo Hostler week. And this is the week that he goes out and top 10s and wins somebody a big GPP. I'm not saying he's 200-1 in the market. So, I mean, you want to put $10 on him and have a nice week? Go ahead and throw $10 on it. We can all party in Vegas. Come on out there this weekend. Let's do the thing. But I'm telling you right now, Bo Hostler really getting hot with a putter. We're about to go to a putting contest. He gets some of these crazy 5.7 strokes gained approach kind of weeks at the Palmetto. You know, it's been here or there. The John Deere was just atrocious and just kind of a write-off week. And everybody has a bad week here and there, and you can write it off. But he is an immaculate driver of the golf ball. That takes one component of the golf game completely off the board for me. He's 6,600, and he just sticks out like a sore thumb to me. And he's getting no traction, like zero traction whatsoever. And we're looking literally, if you look at anything right now, I mean, 15th at the Barbasol, 25th Rocket Mortgage, 10th at the Travelers, 19th at the Palmetto. In this range, you never get this kind of like recency form under 1%. So like, I'm loading up on Bo Hostler, and I'll just kind of, look like a genius or be the biggest donk in the world, and I'm happy about it.
You make a good case. Listen, first of all, one of the many reasons you should be watching the PGA Contenders video each week with me and Josh, we dive into our favorite bets, but both of us came to the conclusion that you did, that there are some really generous top 10s and even top 20s out there. And it has to do with this range that we're talking about. To me, I'm not gonna say he's my favorite play because that's wildly aggressive. Jason Duffner this week at 6,700 is certainly my favorite pay down option. He's 18-1 for a top 10. He's 8-1 for a top 20. 8-1 for a top 20. I really don't understand that. He was 18th at John Deere, 26th at Barbasol, 28th at the 3M. He's dominating tee to green. He can't putt. He never could putt. It hasn't been that bad, though. He gained 0.3 strokes at the 3M with the putter. This is a good course for him. He's certainly in that macro player that I talked about. Jason Duffner has done. He's got a major. I know that's not relevant right now, but he's been on tour forever. He's got many, many wins. 18-1 for a top 10. I think him, Hostler, Roger Sloan, all these type of players in this little range are worth flyers in the betting market and the DFS streets.
So I'm going to throw this out as the hot take for the week. I'll jump the gun a little bit. And I have one locked and loaded here for later, but I want this one to be known. I think 2 players from the sub 7K range end up in the optimal and end up in like the winning lineup on just about everything.
What'd you say?
2 players under 7K. I think I love the amount of attention that you give to me sometimes. It's very nice.
Yeah,
I feel like Lofty and Adam and this is the odd couple.
No, it was. I was reading your comments in chat.
Well, some dude decided to say that I was wrong
respect.
about shit, and he deserved to be slandered.
Tell him.
What do you want from me? I gave you Sam Burns outright. You know, just because he cost me 5 figures with a lip out, get off my lawn. Get off it. Please leave my site. Just get out of here.
All right. We've talked about some flyers that we like here. I got one guy that I do want to dig into. And it's a guilty pleasure of both of ours. I like Duffner. It's not even close. But what are you going to do, if anything, with Russell Knox?
Have a little bit because he's terrible at putting, but I love the fact that, I mean, he gets these weeks that just don't make sense. Russell Knox, I'm thinking of like another comp. I mean, he's just your Scottish dude who just does things that he's Martin Laird. He's kind of like a Martin Laird. Do you kind of find them to be the same person? I do.
I could see. I mean, I think more for me, courses that we've talked about to justify Bubba and many other players, Travelers, Knox 1. RBC Heritage is a comp to this. There's no doubt. HV3 runner-up, Knox runner-up, OHL Rocks runner-up, Honda Knox runner-up. All these courses are technical, par 70s. Some of them are in Florida. This is not that, but he has a type of course, and I think this is in it. The problem is I don't know if Russell Knox is that player anymore. He's just been terrible all year, and that of course is concerning.
Yeah, but this is the field. If you're going to take shots on these dudes, take a shot on a field where they can actually go out and do something, as opposed to trying to make them the last guys in your WGC build or whatever the hell kind of stuff we've been playing for the last couple of weeks. Also, welcome back, Cuts. I missed you.
Yeah, I miss Cuts too. It's nice to have my weekends back. Wait a minute. No, it'll be good. Back to standard. Trying to get 66 through, and that's what we're going to do here. I do want to say, before we get to some hot takes, I've talked a little about college football, but I'm going to say this is kind of a pseudo sponsor. This show is kind of brought to you by Betting You, which is a brand new podcast exclusively here at Awesemo, available on Apple, Spotify, all the places you watch podcasts, listen to podcasts. Betting You is there. It's college football. Me and Matt Kajeski, we are previewing every single conference in depth, and then we're going to be going every week, breaking down the bets that you guys need to hear, need to get on, players, DFS, all that. We're, of course, going to have shows on YouTube and whatnot. But if you are a college football fan, and I know you guys know how smart Matt is with that, there's no one better in the industry, give Betting You a listen. I'm enjoying doing it each and every week, and we certainly want you guys to hear it if you're interested. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all the work we've been doing on the podcast feed here, because that is an underutilized asset at Awesemo. But is there anyone, before we get the hot takes, that's really low, like sub 65 that you have in the pool?
Oh, well, let me pull it up. That you sprung that on me a little bit. Let me see. I had some Aaron Baddeley at 1%, so that's cool.
Oh my God.
1%. That seems like an Aaron Baddeley number.
No, listen.
I have a couple of these dudes at 1%. I don't have any Sung Kang, for everybody asking. I don't have any Chris Baker. I haven't dipped into the Eric Lindquist well of calf muscles. So everybody likes the strokes gained calf muscles, and we're just going to fade it, especially coming off of Phil Mickelson. I think he used all of those strokes gained at the PGA this season. So we're just off of that. That's removed from my model going forward. Oh, yeah. So I have Bronson Burgoon a little bit too. I have 2% of him. He's completely terrible. but he spikes some of these weeks. Valspar and Byron Nelson, 13th at both of those. Not saying perfect comp, but just golf courses that don't require as much driving of the golf ball. I think that there's at least an opportunity at, again, he's under 1%. So in 150, getting to 2% of him, happy to burn that money.
One guy we missed, Brendan from chat, and appreciate that comment on the ownership. We're going to run another there, but Bryce Garnett, he fits that too. He's a guy, OHL, a lot of the same courses. It's that same theme. So another good name. Friend of the show, Cody, asked about sub 65. I really want to try to avoid it and get up to Duffner or Sloan or Bo Hostler. I think Cam Percy is probably where I would go if I had to. Guy's making cuts. He can really strike it. He just can't putt, and that's going to be tough here. Also, again, now that I know, I've said this like 4 times this week, now that I know that Michael Gellerman is not Spieth's caddy, I feel a little more interest. I thought that was Spieth's caddy. This guy is a dominant approach player. He's gained 3.5 strokes on the approach or more in 5 straight weeks. He just has no short game whatsoever. So that's going to cap the upside, but he's the flat min, and you could do worse than that.
Michael Greller, right?
Yeah. Well, who the hell knows these people?
Dude, you like golf, right?
I do.
Also, this takes me back. Do you remember that FedEx commercial with the rock band or like the heavy metal band? But we love golf.
No,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I don't.
I'm gonna have to go back and find that. It's a FedEx commercial with like this manager, whatever. When you said it, it just sounded like very pouty, and it was nice. It reminded me of that. But we love golf. No, from now on, you were only into hate or something like that. Now, trash this hotel room.
What?
You don't know what I'm talking about. Somebody in the chat has to know this FedEx commercial. It's the greatest thing of all time.
You better hope. Like I run the YouTube analytics here at Awesemo, and when we see the big dip, I'm gonna blame it on this.
523. You think I care? We're fine. At 823, it's gonna be all right.
Creative players is right. I don't think you want to dip that low though this week, because the real thing, as we kind of sum it up with a couple minutes left here before we get to hot takes, what are you really paying up for per se? You know, I have no problem with Decky and whatnot, but there's just not a ton north of 10. So if you're gonna go balanced, you can land comfortably in the Chris Kirk, the HV3 range. And to me, that's significantly better than the Bronson Burgoon, Cam Percy range.
I mean, I just was saying Bronson Burgoon because he's free. It was just a guy that I was getting to slightly sprinkling in.
You tell him. We withdrew, yes.
Yes, he did.
Sad.
Welcome to an hour ago.
It's good sad. Times here. I'm just so happy that he did this before. Same. This is so atypical. We've never had to deal with this.
Yeah, it's normally Jason Day Memorial. Oh, wait, I am leaving. That happened to me. It's not good.
All right.
Bad times.
It's time. Our favorite time of the show here. You got any hot takes? Like I said, you have been all over it. You've been doing your service, and chat loves you for that. What do you got? Yeah.
Yeah, what am I going to be wrong about this week? Bo Hostler, top 10, 18 to 1, 16 to 1. I just found both numbers here. We are top 10ing Bo Hostler this week. I am just locking it. It's a lock. I'm not locking him in DFS, but that top 10. Oh man, I'm literally going to get to Vegas here in like 4.5 hours, 5 hours. It's going to be good times. I'm going to be sipping a drink, and of course, just putting bets on Bo Hostler. Those two things go together.
Sort of. I love the bet. I'm going to ride your coattail here. Jason Duffner, 18 to 1, top 10. It truly is my favorite bet on the board. I don't understand. I know he hasn't been great, but he certainly showed some form lately. This is not a strong field. It's a good course for him. 18 to 1. I know it's not the same as an outright, but it is in the sense, if you hit one of the favorites at a tournament for an outright, that's 18 to 1. That's 15 to 1. Like, this is a borderline season saver for that. That pays for a lot of swings and misses for FedEx Cup season. I love peppering the board with those type of players. Even you can go conservative top 20 and you're still getting a really nice payoff if they can land inside that number.
I mean, it's better than betting JT 8 to 1s lately. Outrights. I mean, there's like no way around it. That has just been driving down the freeway, throwing money out your car window.
Crazy hot take for me. I don't think this is even that crazy, but I think HV3 is worth an outright bet. He's 80 to 1. That's a big number. I have no problem with that. Yeah, you should play with Rick's in Vegas. I have played golf. Literally the only person in the world that can say this. I have played golf with Rick because I've only played about 2 rounds of golf in my life. Good people.
Nice.
Anything else? Any final thoughts before you head out to Vegas, baby, Vegas.
I mean, I got my Tom Brady NFT that I was able to just immediately turn around, and it was good times. So I think that's gonna up my DFS exposure a little bit this week. Very excited. It's nice. We've been inching closer. I think this is going to be a big week for us. I think between the two of us, there was some mind melding there. My Bo Hostler, your Jason Duffner. I think the $200 single entry is screaming at us. I think we might have to go do that.
I think we've got it locked in here, and that's what we're going to do again. Golf never ends. Next week, we'll be breaking down the FedEx Cup playoffs, and certainly after that, the swing season starts. But we want you guys inside that ropes. If you want to get involved, awesemo.com/join. Packages, weekly, monthly, annually, all the best deals that you're going to find. And it's not just for PGA. Like I said, NFL, college football, baseball's in full swing, and soon enough, it'll be hoops. I've been watching a little summer league, watching Cade Cunningham do his thing. But on that note, we're going to bounce out of here. Chat, really fun show. I had a blast today. Appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, you can follow us at JazzRazDFS, at Eric Lindquist. Good luck, everyone. Safe travels to Eric right here, and we'll see you guys next week.
A reputation.